Man, I got to tell you, it's been so long since I did a live stream. I didn't know the correct procedure. I'm like, what do I hit? The countdown, the button, what? And then I made a comment in the comments, and I'm looking for my name to be blue because I'm usually posting as an admin, not the stream guy. And so that got me. And then I had a spelling error on the thumbnail. So thanks to Bill, KK4PAL, for helping me out there.
Like I'm sitting here playing cards with my brother's kids or something.
Yeah, man.
Sons of bitches.
I tell you, I mean, that is 100% accurate. And I lent my camera to my wife, and she gave it back, and it was all fakaked. I had to fix the camera, and that was a fucking problem. Oh, there you go.
Well, you said that within 7 minutes too. That may make your wiener.
Yeah,
or
well.
something. I don't know.
Hey, James, how you doing? Thanks to everybody for being in the chat. Totally appreciate it. Today, I think we're going to talk a little bit about multimeters. I did a video a couple days ago, and I do a lot of multimeter videos, and I just get tons of questions on them. So I figure we would just have kind of a free-form conversation, talk about a couple different meters, talk about the pros and cons of them, and why we have them. And what's funny is what they say is if you have 1 meter, it's accurate, and if you have 2 meters, they're both wrong. And then you need to have 3 to be able to guess which one might be right.
To extrapolate a mean that would be close to the correct answer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I do have a pretty good stack of meters. I was talking to Thump, I think it was last night, and he's like, dude, you should give them away. And I've probably given away 10 or 12 meters. And then I've got a couple in a box that we'll do on a car giveaway coming up. So
we got some meters here because I brought in, I think, most of my collection.
Yeah, what do you got? You want to? Well, I guess we'll start talking about Jim's collection. What do you got?
Well, okay. I mean, we can open with mine. Let me.
I don't want to put you out or anything.
No. Let me change cameras because this is going to be rapid fire.
Here we go, boys.
I didn't know if you had a specific plan. Or
sorry, cornbread.
So this is one of our old friends, the Kaiweets. This is the HT118A. And this is a great this is my everyday meter here in the house.
I love that meter.
Oh yeah, this is great. I like it because it does have a mechanical off and on. It also will auto power off.
I'm trying to get the thing right here.
Like a lot of these newer meters, it comes with a thermocouple, which is useful. This is one of those things you don't know you need until you need it, and you're like, oh wait, I got one of that cheap meter I bought off of Amazon. But these are nice. These are decent probes. And they come with the little tip shield, and you can pull that off and have a full-size tip.
Well, I can't begin to tell you how important that tip shield is because I was poking around inside of one of that cheap amp that I have. Boom, smoke came out.
Touch the shiny part.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of hard to see on camera. There we go. So this one will do pretty much every function. It'll show you line frequency, for your power line or whatever, voltage obviously, resistance, continuity, diode check, capacitance, the temperatures in center Fahrenheit, and then amperage, of course. It also has an NCV, non-contact voltage tester on it.
And it's big and beefy, and I like that.
Oh yeah, and I mean it fits well in the hand. It, like most of these, it has a bail, so you can set it and leave it on the desk so you're not trying to juggle a meter in your hand while you're touching the electric parts. So that's pretty swank. And again, like most of these, now this one only is 10 amp. A lot of these things are rated for 20 amp. This one's only 10 amp on the big range. But either way,
I got to tell you, some of the ones that are rated for 20, I wouldn't feel comfortable pushing 20 through them.
20 amps is a lot of electrons.
Yeah, bring that back. So that is the H118A, right?
Yeah, HT118A.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. If you turn it on, it should light up because a lot of people get confused. They say, well, where do I plug in my probes? And so that one does a really good job based off the setting that you choose, letting you know where you should plug your probes in.
So if I switch over to microamps, look at that.
Yeah, so that's really handy, and it's color-coded, and they're not always color-coded. Yeah, James is right. He's saying 20 amps is 12 gauge, and you can get some of these multimeters that do not have 12 gauge leads, right? So when you're pushing 10 amps or 20 amps through those, I think they're talking about a burst, not a continuous, because you will make that thing hot.
Yeah, I would not keep 20 amps running through one of these.
But that one has a lot of good info on the bottom of it to let you know what you should or shouldn't be doing. I've cracked that one open. It's got good protection inside. And it's auto ranging, right? So
Yes.
when you plug it in, there isn't 50 different settings where you have to guess. I'm measuring a resistor, for example, and maybe you don't know what it is, so you put it on, I don't know, 200 ohms when it's a 20,000 ohm resistor. That will auto detect it.
Right, and the good thing about auto ranging too is more on the voltage side. You know, if you think it's a 10 or 12 volt circuit, and you just put it up to 50 or something, you may smoke an important bit. So auto ranging is pretty useful. And a lot of people don't like it. I don't know. I'm kind of ambivalent one way or the other. Oh, it's got auto ranging. Yes or no, whatever. I don't know that I'm doing a whole lot that I got to measure it that fast kind of deal. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that if you multimeter for hours a day, then maybe a manual ranging is the way to go because you're trying to save time.
Right.
But if you're taking like 2 or 3 measurements on a Sunday afternoon, I prefer the auto ranging, to be honest with you. That said, I have manual ranging meters.
Then we have this little gem. And you've got one of these guys too. I don't remember which one you got. This is a Klein. This is a clamp meter for measuring current. So you don't have to wire in. I need to move my microphone over. So you don't have to wire in your meter to the circuit like you would with this kind of meter. This thing you can just hang on the wire and it'll show you the current. Now it is ranging as well. It's got a 2 to 20 amp range and a 200 to 400 amp range. And since I'm not wiring this in the circuit, I'm feeling a whole lot better about things when I'm not touching the shiny metal part. And of course, voltage and all the usual things. It also has non-contact voltage down here at the end. So I think this is about $40 for this thing. I don't remember.
Yeah, Klein makes good multimeters. And, I didn't think that I needed let's just go back to studio mode. I didn't really think that I needed to have a clamping meter. And I was like, I didn't really have a use for it. But the more that I mess with like solar panels and batteries, especially high current batteries, they're a total lifesaver. Now, I've got this one. This is the one I use mostly. It's a Kaiweets. And this has something that's called inrush current, which is really nice. So like, for example, I can put this on my car battery, start the car, and then capture the maximum amperage output to tell if my battery's good or not.
This does that too. Yeah.
And that's pretty handy. I have this one and I have another one. It's in the giveaway box. It's RVDA, I think is what it is. It's a clamping multimeter. It's nice. And I'm saying to myself, hey, I don't have a need for 2 clamping meters. What'll happen is I'll get rid of it, and then I'll need 2 clamping meters and have to buy one. James says he's looking for a replacement for his Fluke in the $150
James,
range.
any of these meters we're showing, honestly, are nice meters. Even, and I'll be straight up, I don't feel bad about using the cheap ones.
Yeah, I use some cheap ones. Let me get my overhead set up over here, because I did want to talk a little bit about cheap meters versus expensive meters and all that mess and rigmarole. So let me go on the big screen. Hi, everybody. And then I want to go to my eye in the sky. All right, so a couple different things. This is probably the most expensive meter that I have is this EEV blog. And I really like it. I never did a review on it or a video on it or anything like that because I don't review everything that I get. And I bought this one because I wanted to have a nice meter. This one has really nice silicon leads, so they don't have memory. They're soft. They don't get in the way or anything. And then it has these gold tip probes. These aren't solid gold. They just have like a very, very fine, thin layer of electroplating on them. But this is a really nice meter. Where people get into trouble is that they'll get their first multimeter or they'll go look to buy a multimeter. And sometimes you can overpay for a meter. So like this blue one here, I haven't done a video on this. I will. This meter I got off of AliExpress for like $4, and it is reasonably accurate. And we'll do some testing with that. And it's a manual meter, and it does have some limited functionality. But for a beater meter and a first meter, this is hard to beat for $4. $5. I have a link below where you can get it on Amazon for like $8.99, I think is what it is. But you get these guys who are selling these meters, they'll buy cases of these off of AliExpress from China, and they'll pay $2 or $3 a meter, $5 a meter because they're buying them in bulk. And they'll list them on Amazon for $19.95, right? For $19.95, I wouldn't buy this meter, but a lot of folks might not know any better, right? Because, I mean, it looks like any of these other meters, right? You wouldn't know that it's a little bit cheaper. When you hold it, it's light and it feels hollow and it has limited circuit protection. I would never trust it at, like, I think they said this was rated at here it is, max 600 volts. I would never do that. I have plugged it into mains AC and wasn't entirely feeling good about doing that. And this one is a Unity. This is the UT136B Plus. Now, I think that the 136, maybe it's the 138, they have multiple versions that go from $20 all the way up to $180. This is a pretty good meter. It's auto ranging. Like, one of the things I was talking about earlier is that the ports down here are all black. That doesn't bother me because I have some experience using multimeters. But this one, I think I paid less than $20. So if I was looking at this one for $20 and this one for $20, I'd definitely buy the Unity. And James is asking about RMS or regular. So we'll talk a little bit about that. RMS is root mean square, and that's really important when you're looking at things like AC current, because some meters will measure peak-to-peak voltage, not your average voltage, which is really what your root mean square is. So you'll get different readings. I actually don't recall. This one doesn't say RMS. They typically do if it is an RMS, so we'd have to check and see what that is. This one doesn't say anything on it either, but like this Kaiweets is an RMS here, right here. You can see where it says true RMS. So I don't know if there's non-true or just regular fake RMS. And down here you can see this says 9,999 counts. And I did a video on what counts are. So what that means is that this meter can count up to 9,999. So if I was going to measure, let's say, 10 volts, I'm going to get 10.00. Right, I won't be able to get 10.000. So you lose a digit of precision when your counts roll over. And some folks will be like, well, oh my gosh, I want to get the most counts that I can. The more counts, the more money something costs. Like I had a 20,000 count meter I traded to TO. I can't remember what I traded it to him for. I think this one is 6,000 counts. This one here, you can see this one is 4,000 counts. Now with this one, they might call that 3.5 digits, right? Because this one only goes to 4. I think it has to technically go to 5. So I think 6,000 is 3 3.75 digits. But they switched it to counts now, which is a million times easier to calculate or figure out in your head. What do you got over there, James? Did you leave? He's on mute.
I was coughing.
Are you better now?
Or vomiting. You never know.
Hey, Thumb.
So this is the Pros Kit, and this is the one that I use in the shop the most. Electro Boom uses this thing on his channel, and he's like an electrical engineer and half insane and hasn't killed himself yet. So I'm going to call this probably a legitimate meter, and it's not that much different than any others. This has a super rubber, baby bumper guard on it.
Right.
And of course the bail, it's got a hook that you can hang the thing. And I don't remember the counts on this. This is auto. It does not auto range at all.
It's got a lot of settings on that dial too.
Oh yeah. So let me get this where you guys can possibly see it. So you've got resistance, capacitance.
There you go. Looking good now.
Looking good. Inductance, it does temperature. It only does temperature in centigrade. Current, voltage, so on and so forth. It has a peak hold, a backlight. It's AC/DC. And see, this one's rated for 20 amps.
Well, what's really nice about that meter is that it measures inductance, which a lot of meters do not do. So you typically have to end up buying a different LC meter, the inductance and capacitance meter.
Yeah, and you know the one thing I've discovered about that too, the range on this for inductance is not that wide, so you may still end up with an LC meter if you're measuring low amounts of inductance. And I think about the same on capacitance. This only goes down to about, well, no, it must not be this one. This goes to 20 nanofarads. So, but you want to look at your ranges too. And this is decent, a decent meter. Now this guy, I like this meter. I despise this.
Yeah.
I have not seen if it'll run off USB. I need to test that, I guess, one day.
Yeah, I would imagine that it has a DC input, but that also could be that for data logging, right? Which is
Yeah.
that's a
think it's
really
for
handy
data.
feature for data logging.
I think that's a data logging thing. Now, this guy auto ranges within a range. So you can hit the button and set him to auto. But then he has ranges. I don't know if that's going to show up on the camera. Worth of crap.
That's a nice looking meter.
5 volts, 50 volts, 500 volts, or 1,000 volts. So I can just hit 50 volts and then I'm good. It's going to auto range from 0 to 50. And of course, current, voltage. The lights are killing my eyes. I cannot see this thing. This does frequency and temperature measurements. Like Abe was talking about, this also does data logging as well. And then the screen on it is just great. It sits well on the desk and makes it very easy to read. Of course, that's not going to translate on camera, but this is about a $150 meter, I think I paid for this. And this is 55,000 counts. So that would go up to 55,999, Abe. Or 55,000.
55,000. So at 55,001, it would roll over and you'd lose a digit.
Yeah, okay. But, you know, at ham voltages, which are typically 12 volts or less.
You might get 13.8, but yeah.
Right, yeah. So that's pretty cool. This is the O1 XDM 1041. And I think I did a video on this. I don't remember. And this does have data logging, and it also has some math functions built in. I cannot remember how to drive all those right now, and I don't have anything set up to measure. So, but a very nice meter. And on my to-do list is to pop this thing open and get rid of this hot mess, because it's annoying. You have this giant plug sticking out of this thing, so it won't sit back against the wall. Makes it hard to stack it anywhere. But it's a nice meter. I like it.
Well, what's neat about that meter is that if you want to just have one stationary on your desk that you're not going to move around.
Yep.
I like that one quite a bit.
And if that plug was less ghetto and jankomatic, then it would be great. So now we get to the old school meters. This is a old Simpson. This is probably circa late 80s, early 90s maybe. Completely battery operated. And an LCD screen. And this does
That's
your basic
old school.
functions. Oh, this is really old school, yeah. Voltage, current, milliamps, resistance, AC, DC, obviously. And I think
Ooh,
that's
Lee's
about
got a
it.
good point. He's saying you can just use a right angle power cable on that other one.
Yeah, I know. And I think I actually have one, Lee. I just, I would rather get rid of the whole 120 volt thing, because it's probably in there and stepped it down to 8 or 10 volts.
You could probably just bypass it, right?
Right. So you got it's a decent screen. It's an LCD screen on this thing. And it has a bail so you can stand it up. And then on the bottom, you've got a chart of your ranges and everything.
Where do you put the probes on that thing?
Yeah, so that's a little annoying. The probes go over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's reversing in the camera, but so there's your current probe and your milliamp probe for current, and then your common is right there. And I believe it uses, standard. No, it doesn't. That's right. This uses some oddball probe. I remember I had to buy these probes off of eBay or something because that does not mate. This will go in the hole, but it's not going over that thing. Oh, yeah, that's because that's male. That's what it is. And this is male, and they won't do the deed together.
Mm-hmm. So you got to get a female B and C or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I have a set of cables for it that are, female banana plug jacks.
Do you ever use that meter?
No, I haven't in a long time. I actually need to take the battery out of it. I mean, it works, and it's a nice bench meter. It may end up sitting in here where it's smaller and out of the way. And then we have this guy.
Oh, man, look at that thing.
And this has an audio generator, frequency multiplier for the audio generator. You can generate sine, square, and triangle waveforms with it, as well as voltage, current, and ohms. AC, DC, and it will manual range or it'll auto range.
Well, I got to tell you, what's sweet about that is that you could do output in the 2 meter band, right, with that AF generator. So
yes.
If you were going to test something, that is
Yep.
That's pretty sweet. Is it a RF generator or is it a digital?
Just audio. I think I don't remember that I've tested that. I think I did, but I don't remember what I came up with. It says AF, and I'm pretty sure it's just an audio generator.
That's pretty cool.
And it runs 110, so weighs a couple pounds.
Aiden's saying the company he works for is only Fluke, and they have a Fluke network testing, which is sweet.
Yeah, I got one of those at work. Yep.
At my work, we actually have a Fluke VNA, and I got to tell you, man, I definitely wanted to borrow that Fluke VNA, but I haven't. Maybe one day I'll I'll do that. Now, I've got this isn't all of them. This is a whole mess of meters. And a lot of folks will be like, well, what do you need so many meters for? And I don't need this many. But one of the things I'll talk about is that, like, when I'm testing like big batteries, I use this one as a clamp-on meter on the positive wire that comes out. So that way I can read the amperage that's coming out of it. And then I'll typically use another meter. I've been using this one to connect to the battery terminals so I can see the voltage on the back of the battery. Now, what I could do is I could take another meter, like say maybe this one. I really like this Anang. It's the AN808, and this is like a $20 meter, and it's small. I'm pretty sure it's a copy of this Fluke.
Sure looks like it, don't it?
Yeah, what I could do with this one is that I could connect this one to the terminals on the input of my inverter, right? So that way I could see if I'm losing any voltage across the connection cables that I've got. Then if I wanted, I could take a third meter and I could connect that to the AC out, and I could see what my AC out voltage is. So a lot of times with projects and stuff that you're working on, you may need 1 or 2 meters, 3 meters to get an accurate description or accurate understanding of what exactly is going on in there. This is a small Fluke that I bought. It's the 101. And I haven't done a video on this one either. But if you take a look at it, it's got volts, AC, DC, millivolts. And then millivolts is only AC. So I'm not sure how low this one goes. I'd have to consult the manual. And then here it has ohms, continuity, and diode. It does not measure Oh, it does. Here's capacitance here.
Yep.
And then here's frequency for hertz. There's something this thing doesn't measure. I can't remember. Oh, it doesn't measure current, so there's no amperage measurement on this. But this is a nice little durable meter. It's actually got really good input protection on it. It's got a hard plastic case on the outside. It doesn't have one of those rubberized, I call them multimeter condoms, but I don't know what the official with the
Rubber
official
baby buggy bumpers.
Yeah, with the official wording on it. And I think this one's about $50. which is cheap for a fluke, expensive for a multimeter, especially one that's this limited. And it does not have a bail. And another thing that some folks may or may not like is the orientation of where your probes go. So this one, the probes come out of the bottom. So this meter, when you're using it, slides around a little bit. I do prefer front-facing probe connections like on this NA. But I really like this. This has got a really nice large display, easy to read. You can take a look at this one. It's easy to read, but it's smaller. And I don't think that this one has I don't think this meter has a backlight on it either. This one does. If I just hold this on, there you go. It makes it nice and easy to read.
That sucker's bright. Dang.
Yeah, and for $20, this is I think one of the better value meters that you could.
It looks just like that damn fluke. It looks exactly like.
Yeah, and if you take a look, this one's true RMS, so you don't have some of those conversion math problems that you need to do. It has a fused 10 amps that you can measure here. It says it's rated for 600 volts. One thing I'll say is that I wouldn't trust a lot of these meters in the high current or high energy circuit because a lot of them are made in China, and well, they're not exactly honest about specifications sometimes, and that can cause a little bit of grief. If I was trying to do some high current measurements, I would use this EEV blog. And this is actually, you can see here, it says Bryman. This is a rebranded Bryman, and Bryman makes fantastic meters. This one's beefy. It's heavy. I really like that meter.
Let me see. Show us your backside there on that meter. On the meter. Calm down on the meter.
It just has a bail, and it has the hook.
It looks awful.
I don't know if it's
I was trying to figure out what all that was.
But I never have hung. I know people who do it, but I've never just hung one on a wall and used it that way. But
now, so I got two questions. Two things I want to. Don't put that meter away.
It's right here.
Well, bring it up. Put up on the screen. Hold it in your TV personality hands. So that does not have the magnetic hook on the back either, which I've seen on a lot of meters.
Yeah. So this VenLab has
the Vens do. Yeah.
And that's nice because, like, if you're in your engine bay and you're testing things, you don't want your meter to slide off and then end up in a crack or a crevice somewhere, right? And that's actually a really handy feature to have.
Yeah, and I haven't tested how magnetomically correct that thing is, but it seems like a cool feature. The other question I have, and you can use any of those meters to do this. How in the hell are you supposed to put the probes away on that meter so that they're not all pokey sticking out and the wire's not loose? Because I'll be damned if I can figure out what the secret is to wrapping that thing.
I don't think these are the probes that came with this meter.
Yeah, mine never.
But you can clip them in here, which is one way to do it.
So you're wrapping the wire sideways. Okay.
I am, and that's kind of jank, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they fit and you're not. See, that's the part I never tried. Because I've tried wrapping the wire either way, and I end up with loops of wire falling loose while the probes may or may not be in the holes. Yeah,
these don't exactly fit in there because these aren't the right probes. And that's one problem that I have is I get the probes all mixed up all the time. One of the things I was going to show is that, like, when somebody asked about the Harbor Freight meters, this is the same meter as the Harbor Freight one. It's just a different color. And this has these really thin PVC coated probes. They're not the best probes. And this is a $5 multimeter. So you got to expect that you're not going to get the same level of quality.
Is that rated for 100 amps?
Yeah, right. Now, this one down here, it measures milliamps. And so, like, you can look, here's your DC voltage, AC voltage, your resistance, diode. HFE is when you want to test components. I never use these component testers on these things. I use a separate component tester. But here for amps, it says
I do the same thing.
It measures 10 amps. Now, I don't know. This is 10 amps DC. See how you have the DC indicator flashing? I don't know if this thing can measure AC amperage or not. So... And then this would be very low level DC amperage that you can measure here. And just being completely open about it, this meter is actually pretty accurate. And I really don't have, I used to keep this at work to test batteries. So we would use it all the time for testing different batteries like UPSs or freaking mouse or headset batteries or whatever. It's pretty nice. Now, this meter is the DT830B. And this other one that I was showing, these are all made in the same factory. This was the XL830L. So for like $2 or $3 more, or if you order it from China, $5. This blue one is and I put a link in the description. This is the one that I would definitely be considering over this one. The inside of this looks bad. Like, it doesn't look like it's put together very well. There's very little protection, and it's sketch at best. But like, if I was looking for my first meter and I didn't know how to use a meter and I just wanted to get something to play around with, this is probably the one I would get. Unless, of course, you go to Harbor Freight and you have the coupon and you get one of these. I think Harbor Freights are red. I've got a black one upstairs somewhere. But these are, it's a decent meter to play around with. And if you go on YouTube and you watch a lot of videos, a load of people you're using this meter here. Oh, the reason I was talking about these is I wanted to talk a little bit about the probes. So if you look at this, it's not shielded, which is a little bit of an issue, and it's super duper small. So if I wanted to go ahead and use it with something like this Unity meter, it doesn't stay in. It'll just fall right out because it's too small. So that's one thing I think is a real kick in the pants, because you may have a nicer probe set, or I don't think you can buy a replacement probe set for this. You'd have to buy a whole new meter.
Shoot, is that right? Yeah.
Now these do work with this. This meter here doesn't use standard probes either. It uses the smaller ones. What were you saying?
Well, I wouldn't worry about trying to replace probes on a $5 Harbor Freight meter. I'd just go buy a $5 Harbor Freight meter and move on. Jesus, buying a set of probes is going to cost you more than that.
Yeah, so Lee's asking about a small, cheap toss in the bag. This one, the Aneng AN8008. And I have a link for this below. Again, it's around $20. It's a pretty capable meter. I can't remember if I've done a video on this one or not, but I use this one a lot. The other one is that if $20 is too expensive, then I would go with this blue one. Like, if I was going for the absolute cheapest meter that I could find, this blue one would be the one. Now, this one, the blue one is manual. The Aneng is auto ranging. And if you got a little bit more cash, but you still want small form factor, maybe you look at the Fluke, which is not a true RMS. So I probably wouldn't recommend that one. I'd probably say one of these two. The blue one's a little bit bigger, so I think I would go with this 8008. The other one is that they have an 8009, or maybe it's the 9009, but it's blue. Same price point, a little bit different features. Like, if you take a look at the features on this one, you have your volts, duty cycle. So your volts are AC and DC. Then you have your duty cycle, and then you can also switch to hertz. So you can measure that. Then you have millivolts, continuity, resistance, capacitance, and diode check. And then here you have a separate hertz and duty cycle, amps, milliamps, microamps. And then what's really cool about this one is that it will actually generate a square wave. And so you can use that square wave to do different types of testing and stuff like that. And I know it goes up to at least a kilohertz square wave. I think it goes even higher than that.
I was trying to find, and I can't find it at the moment. That may be it.
Let me go up here and go back to here.
There's another one I have that I keep at work. And it's I
James is saying
got it
about
off Amazon. Go ahead.
buying probes, and here it is. He's saying Solder Smoke Work recommends a good set of probes. What's a good set of probes going to cost? I would take a look at Probe Master probes, and they're kind of like the standard probes. They're silicon jacketed. They're not PVC jacketed probes. And depending upon which size you're going to get and the length of the cable, and if you're going to get, so I can't remember. I have so much stuff here. It's hard to remember. So like, if you take a look at these probes, no, they're not the ones. I have some probes where these tips come off, and then you could put a set of alligator clips on there, for example, or you could take these probes off, and they have some with a longer point on them, or you can put different types of, you can put a BNC connector on there. And those kits can get up to $40-$60. Now you can buy, Kaiweets has a probe kit, and I think that's the one I have, where you can switch them all around, and it's about $20. Now I have a couple sets of probes here. So if you look at these probes, and a lot of times I use these, they're just BNC on either side. So if I want to plug this into my power supply, for example, I'll just plug these into the power supply and plug these into the meter, and I can do my testing that way. And if I want to compare things like voltage across multiple meters, these actually have a reverse input on the back of them. So you can actually chain these together. So I can make my power supply, I could test the voltage of the power supply on like 3 different meters to kind of figure out which one's the most accurate. This is another set of probes that have these little grab hooks on them, which are pretty handy if you have really small things, or you need to go hands-free. You can just connect these to whatever device under test you're measuring.
Now another kind of meter, and I forgot to bring it in because it's buried in a drawer of crap I should probably throw away, but we'll let sit around for another 10 years. And I am not saying don't. I'm not telling you to go buy this meter. Don't. This thing is a flaming piece of crap. But they make meters like this, which are very useful if you're trying to work on a circuit board. Because not only do you have probes that you can use with it, but those are the probes. So you can set this down on a board next to an SMD component. And this is going to be really basic. I think this guy is basically voltage and resistance, and that's all this particular one does. But if you're going to be working on circuit boards, maybe something you want to put in your kit. This thing was fairly cheap. It was $20. It was not high precision at all. It's kind of a piece of junk.
Yeah, so that's probably one of those examples of somebody's buying, a shipping container full of those from China for a few bucks and then marking them up to 23. I mean, not everybody has the ability to do that, so sometimes you have to pay a little bit more for somebody else who has. Now, see, if you take a look at that Wii Pro in the end, that's the 850L. So that blue one I was showing, that's the next step up.
From this guy?
Yeah. From that one is the next step up from this one.
This is up from yours. And what's the difference? This has more functions on it, I guess.
I have no idea. Well, if you take a look at it, one of the things is that those probes have those alligator clips that I was talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't looked at that one enough to...
And this has a component tester.
Yeah, this one has a component tester too. But again, I'm not real big fans of those component testers. I would buy, and you can buy like a component tester kit off of Amazon or AliExpress for a few bucks and put it together yourself. And then it's always kind of nice. There's your 01. I do want a desktop meter like that, but I have no idea where I would put it.
Well, like I said, that's kind of the problem is right now it wants to run off 120 volts. So, but it's a nice meter, and the screen's gorgeous.
Yeah, it does look nice. I was looking at
this is a different model, son. Look at this.
Would you look at that USB-C? Does it have HDMI out?
Oh, it's got DVI.
That's awesome.
So,
well, you got the inner shot. Looks like I had two 18650s in there.
Whoa, what is a jumpy thing?
Probably knockoff Samsungs. There's that 2-in-1 digital oscilloscope, but I never use that for oscilloscope, but I always use it for component testing.
What are you talking about? Oh,
the
this
yellow one. Yeah.
The Veneer C. Yeah. This is a different model, I think, than we have. A different name, maybe. TC2.
No, it's DCO TC2.
Yeah, that's the one we got. Yeah, it's good for component testing because the screen is a decent size. Let me.
No, I don't know if that's pandemic pricing or not at $68, but I think
we paid less than that.
Yeah, well, I got sent mine, but I think they're roughly. I think they're around $49 or something like that.
I think that's what I had to pay. Yeah.
They have a new one out. It's the TC3. I don't know what the differences are on it, but they did come out with an upgrade. And that's the thing. Like, whatever meter you buy, be prepared for the upgrade to come out right after you buy it.
Yeah.
And Jeff's saying you can get a good set of Probe Masters for $20-25. And if you need a set of probes, Probe Master's definitely the way to go.
And like Abe was saying, as an oscilloscope, this doesn't have very much bandwidth. But you get a meter to component tester in it as well if you're interested in, if you're oscilloscope curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine for doing low frequency type work.
Yeah, very low frequency stuff.
But not much more beyond that.
Now we have one more, and I thought I saw yours out. Mine's been charging.
Yeah, let me get you on full screen.
Uh-oh. Snap.
Now, if you want oscilloscope functionality in your multimeter, that's definitely the way to go.
So let me move that before I knock it over on the oscilloscope. So this is the O1, and this is, of course, an oscilloscope. This is 100 megahertz bandwidth on this guy.
Yeah, they came out with a 200.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here, like, damn it, I wish I waited a year.
Right. This has, all the basic multimeter functionality right here. Plus, you have an oscilloscope. This, like Abe said, this is the 100 megahertz model, 2-channel, and a test generator as well. So it's got a built-in signal generator and 2-channel oscilloscope. What were these things like about?
I want to say about 220, something like that, $220.
And the screen on it. And again, I don't have anything set up, so I don't know that we can get it to show anything. But
switch the modes on there because it has a really nice O1 generally has a good multimeter screen.
Yeah, there's your multimeter screen right there.
And then you can run the multimeter, oscilloscope, and signal generator independently. So if you open that up, it's actually got 3 boards for each one of those functions in it. It's really nice. Now, I don't think it's the best oscilloscope. It's a good one. I don't think it's the best signal generator. It's a good one. And I don't think it's the best multimeter, but it's a good one. So that's a good all-around tool. That's one that, like, if I'm going, like, when I go out of town or something like that, and if I am taking
coming with me
a portable hand shack, I'll probably grab that one because I have more capability with it.
So I was charging this before the show, and it's a USB-C charge on this thing.
Nice.
There's your probe calibration lugs right there.
Yeah.
Yep. And then and like most of the meters, this is in a rubberized shell. 2 channels, signal generator. Your standard connectors for a meter. So not bad. And it can run on or be charged by USB-C. It has a rechargeable battery built inside. It comes in a nice case for what it is. Yeah. And it comes with 1 scope probe. And then I think I've added extra probes, a set of regular meter probes and a BNC cable and alligator clips and whatnot. But
yeah, it comes with a BNC to BNC. Then it also comes with a BNC to alligator clip, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right. I couldn't remember what all I've added to this case. Yeah, so there's a BNC alligator setup right here, which is handy. There's regular probes, and all this may have come with it. There is another BNC to alligators, because you can never have too many. There's a USB A to C cable, which I apparently have never used.
That's a nice cable that it came with it.
Yeah, it is. It's a hefty cable. It's not. I must have thrown this in it. That's a flimsy little A to C cable. And
Now, I don't know if that's Jim that froze or that it's my internet connection, but I think we may have a problem over here.
Woo! Hello, I'm still here.
There you are. You're back. You're back.
So anyway, the O1's a nice deal. If you want to have a handheld oscilloscope to carry around.
Let me take a quick peek at this one. Yeah, it's 100 mega. These are 100 megahertz.
100 megers.
So in order to do 144, you would need something a little bit more beefier. But this would be fine for most of your like HF work and stuff like that. For your 11-meter band work that everybody's doing.
And I don't remember what the voltage rating is on these. It probably says
I don't either. And James is asking 200. They do have a 200 megahertz model that just came out.
600 volts, 10 amps. 600 volts, 10 amps.
Yes, that's not too bad, right?
So, it just depends on what you're after, too. And again, if you just need a multimeter to measure AC and DC, don't buy that. I mean, it's a nice piece of kit. Don't get me wrong, but it's more than a lot of people will ever use.
Yeah, and that's why I say, like, this is a pretty good meter if you just want to get something cheap. If you drop it, somebody was saying that if you explode it, right? If you ruin it, one thing I'll say is that you always want to be safe, right? So the safety is the most important concern. Damage in the meter is the second. Now this is a meter that I got from Walmart. Let me go in the overhead. And,
are you going to put it on overhead?
Yeah, so let me do this, and then let me go back to OBS and go to Eye in the Sky. So this is a meter that I got from Walmart, and when I bought it, it was like $15. I think that these are probably 25 now. Not entirely sure I would recommend buying this one, but I bought this meter. I bought one of these meters, and something happened and it stopped working, and I had no idea what I was doing. I still don't, but I knew even less then. So I pitched it, drove back up to Walmart and bought another one, and it turns out that the first one that I had a bad fuse in it. So,
oops.
Yeah, and these buttons on there are a little janky. So, like, here's how you switch between AC and DC is with that button on there. Let me go ahead and show more of this. But this one's manual ranging. So, like, for voltage, here's your millivolt reading, 220, 200, and 600. So if I was going to measure like a car battery or a 9-volt battery, I would put it on 20 volts. If I was going to measure like a AAA battery, then I would put it down here on 2 volts. And then over here, it's got your ohms, your resistance there that you would switch back and forth. Here is your continuity and diode testing. And it actually, here it has a battery setting. So I guess I would use these. So this is for like 1.5. So for like your C battery or your
I wonder
E
if that's
battery.
got a load function built in that as well, since you've got a separate range for battery tests.
Well, that's a good thing. I'm looking around for a battery, and I just cleaned up, so I don't think I have any around here.
I hate it when I clean up and can't find things.
You know what? Let me put you on
Yeah.
the screen. Put you on the screen, James, and tell a story here.
I will amuse us all with anecdotes. So I had to replace a ceiling fan that died. And I did a little research online. That's code for Googling. And I mean, I know basic AC electricity. That's not a big deal. But I'm like, what the hell's wrong? The fan spins freely. And I look around, and the common thing is the start capacitor. I'm like, okay, they're like about $10. Lowe's and Home Depot do not carry them. I didn't try Grainger. I tried another electrical supply place. They didn't carry them. So I ordered it off of Amazon and had to wait for, 4 days for my Prime shipping to get here. And I put it in, and sunshine and rainbows and angels sang. The fan spun. The light came on. All was good with the world. And the damn thing died. Like about 20 minutes later, it just quit spinning again. So I ended up having to buy and replace the entire fan. And it's probably, my point is of this story, is there's probably a $3 part in there somewhere. I mean, it was a Hunter fan. Now it's about 8 or 9 years old, but it's very annoying.
Hunter fans, man, they're
Supposed to be, yeah. It's not your Hampton Bay or, Wally World version.
So here's the Wally World meter, and I have it set for DC with this button, and then I have it set for 20 volts here. Now, one of the things I was going to show is I'm going to actually connect this up backwards. So if you connect it backwards, you get a negative voltage. So that's saying it's negative 7.29. This is just an EBL 9-volt battery that I keep around. If I do this, then I get the accurate voltage of it. But this is the resting voltage. So what Jim was talking about is that a battery tester actually puts some load on the battery. So I just adjusted this for 9 volts under the battery setting. And we'll probably, well, it's about the same.
I don't know. I mean, I was curious why it has a battery setting.
Yeah,
Now-
maybe it does put it under. I would suspect, given the exact same reading, that it does not put it on.
Do you have a battery that's not almost, I mean, that battery's dead, dude.
Well, I don't.
I mean, did you test it on your tongue? Because that's how we all test 9-volt batteries.
No,
And if you
and
don't,
I'm
you're
not.
lying.
I didn't, and I'm not going.
Oh, do
Because
it
then
on
I'll be
camera.
tasting.
Come on.
No, because I'll be tasting that all day.
Well,
So
I gotta
here-
wonder if that's a load tester. I'm not sure. That's
Here's
curious.
this little Harbor Freight battery. Let's see what we get here.
Within a few percentage points, a very few percentage points.
Yeah, so now you're getting me a. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you have one battery, it's accurate. I mean, if you have one meter, it's accurate. If you have two, they're both wrong.
Well, I mean, I assume some of that is just the tolerance within the individual components. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, a high-end Fluke has probably got 1% tolerance. The crap that we're buying is probably 5% tolerance.
All right, so here we go. This here is the EEV blog. Let me find my probes in this bird nest.
So we've
probe
got-
nest.
So we got 7.29 and 7.34.
And we got
7.31.
7.31. So the plot thickens. So maybe one reads high, maybe one doesn't. I don't know.
Just average all three together.
This is going to be a mess to clean up later. I'm telling you. Now this we're starting to run. We got 8 minutes left. So on this multimeter is the Kaiweets. It's the KM601. This is a really popular meter because when you turn it on, and,
I love that screen.
yeah, it bounces around, and it's not just an auto ranging multimeter, but it's an auto measuring multimeter. And when I say that, what I mean, this one's got the plugs on the bottom and no bail. It's a really nice meter, and it's a good meter for folks who are getting new to measurements because there's no dial, so you don't. In most cases, there's some things that you have to set manually, but it'll just do the test for you. It determines what you're trying to test, right? So if I wanted to test this battery, then I would just do. I would just touch it on there. I don't need to set it to voltage setting. It just is automatically going to read it.
7.313. So
Yeah, or if I was going to measure continuity across the shield of this filter, it automatically
oh, now see,
does it.
that's cool. That's
It
very
automatically
nice.
does it. So there's no setting there. These I can't remember what the price is on these things. I want to say around $25.
Let me see what I can find.
But these are a nice handy meter, and it has that flat phone design to it. But it's got non-contact voltage up here. It's a decent meter. I don't use it that often. I don't know why. Probably because it was on the other side of the room. But it's a decent meter. That's the one that Pal just bought. He said he got the KM601.
That's the one you were showing just now, right?
Yeah.
601.
Yeah.
So $38.
Is
with
that
the
what it says?
coupon?
38. Yeah, it's pretty
Well, it's
good.
at $45.99, and there's a $7 coupon. So, smart mode, wide applications. But the screen on that is really nice, I think.
Yeah, and they're showing the Kaiweets case. Now this
Feel
is
like
this is that Kaiweets, XL830L and I got this case extra, and I was just showing it because it does have the case, and all my stuff's falling all over the place. Now, I think this one came with these clip-on probes. I can't remember, but they're in here. And this just fits in here nicely, and I'm a bit of a dumbass because I should have this upside down to make sure nothing happens to the screen. And then you can see that the probes here just clip in, and this one has you might have shown that, it has this extra thing on the back where you can hang it on the nail or something like that.
Yeah.
But these cases are really nice if you're going to throw this like in the trunk or something like that, keep it in the back of the car. Keep your meter protected. Let's go back to that view and go back to that. We don't have Randy here today. He works exclusively for the car channel, not the individual channels.
For the cartel.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Hank says I went with the most meters. I've got a few more that aren't, like I said, are boxed up in a box ready to go. And then I got a couple more that I just didn't feel like going around the house and gathering them up. And what's funny about it is that I used to keep a meter in a Nano VNA and a tiny SA upstairs on the nightstand on my side of the bed. Because a lot of times I'll check, messages or something like that at night, when I'm getting ready to wind down. And I'm like, oh, I got to check this real quick. So it'd be nice, but my wife put a stop to that.
I was going to say, what does Mrs. Ape say about that?
She's like, downstairs is a big enough rack. I don't need it. Because
He's like, son, I don't know what you're thinking about's going to happen, but I ain't that girl.
Yeah, it ain't that it ain't that bad down here, but it could use some tidying up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, very cool. So you got some meters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need all these, but I would say that if you are getting into electronics and messing around with stuff, probably 2 is the right number. Get a decent one and get a cheap one. And that way, cheap ones work fine for testing continuity generally, and voltage and stuff like that. James is asking the Kaiweets, does it do capacitor testing? So I think we'd have to know which Kaiweets you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they all do. The 601 does, and
Let me see.
I'd fall on the floor shocked if capacitance wasn't here. Checking resistance of the XYO. Hey Cal, how you doing, bud? And
This one doesn't look like it does.
Hold on there. This one has a capacitance test, and this is the Kaiweets HT 111A, and then I love this meter. This is I can't say enough nice things about it. But yeah, there's a lot of them here. I should probably get rid of more of them. But whenever you do, you're like, oh damn, I need one that does this or does that. That's one of the reasons why I always use that little N-ing, is because it does. It can produce a square wave. And like I mentioned, that's a pretty handy thing.
Now that VenLab meter, James, does do capacitance testing as well.
Yeah, and Arnold's right here where he says if you're servicing old junk, you probably want a capacitor, what is that? Static.
Equivalent series resistance.
Yeah, and that measures the health of the capacitor, right?
Well, I'm not a genius at this. I
Yeah,
don't
so
really know.
you can have a capacitor that has a certain rating, but over time, because of heat and stuff like that, those capacitors lose their ability to capacitate.
Well, I mean, ESR is like, this is the equivalent resistance in series of this capacitor.
Yeah, he's saying leakage.
Yeah,
so,
and that will change over time. I hate it when I got leakage. So.
yeah, it's a mess, right? So you want to have something to guard against that.
Depends.
We're hitting the hour mark. So what I'm going to say is thanks everybody for watching. Like I said, we're just going to do a quick video today talking about multimeters. I appreciate everybody being here, and I had a good time. So with that, I'm going to click the end broadcast button.
Awkward
And
time.
yeah, it'll be the awkward 30